First, let's talk impeachment and what you're expecting to come out of the rules fight today and where you think this is going to head.
I think Senator McConnell is right. They'll look at the witness question later on, sometime probably next week. But there'll be a debate today on the actual kind of framework, the rule package for how you're going to deal with the proceedings over the next few weeks. But we got to remember, they're going to make the argument, the defense team's going to make the argument that this is unconstitutional. Mr. Dershowitz will make that argument. He's right. There'll be the argument that the process was completely unfair on the House side, which is definitely true. I mean, we weren't allowed to bring in any of the witnesses. We went on the House side. There were times during depositions where Adam Schiff actually prevented the witness from answering our questions. I've never seen that happen. They got a lawyer there. The lawyer can do that. It's not supposed to be the chairman of the committee doing that. So there was a number of things that were unfair, no due process really for the president. Make that argument. But the best argument is the fact that all the facts are on the president's side. We have the call transcript. We have the two guys on the call said there was no problem with the call. There was no pressure, no pushing. So the facts win for the president as well. So I think, again, the American people understand that it's time to get this over with and never should have happened in the first place.
Then why not let them testify to that? Why not present the witnesses and hear from people like Lev Parnas, who seem to have unusual access to the president?
If you're gonna go down that road, then I want to hear from the whistleblower. I want to hear from Hunter Biden. If you're going to bring in Lev Parnas and John Bolton, then what's good for the goose is good for the gander, as they say. But remember, when this started, Adam Schiff told us, we look forward to hearing from the whistleblower. Adam Schiff told us we've had no contact with the whistleblower. Both those statements turned out to be false. They did have contact. His staff met with the whistleblower. So we were going to hear from the guy who started it all, and then we never got to. Now think about this. For 4.5 months, we put the country through this impeachment process, and the guy who started it all, the anonymous whistleblower with no firsthand knowledge, who has a bias against the president, and who worked with Joe Biden, we never even got to hear from him, let alone talk to the people he cited in his complaint. Bullet point number 1. He says, over the past 4 months, more than half a dozen U.S. officials have informed me about this effort. Who are these half a dozen U.S. officials? We have no idea if we talked to any of them during the deposition phase and the investigation phase in the House. We have no idea. Now, Colonel Vindman was obviously one of them, but we don't know who the other 5, 6, 7, 8 people are, because we never got to talk to the whistleblower, even though Adam Schiff said we were going to get to talk to him, but then suddenly changed his mind when it was discovered, oh, you misled the American people when you said you hadn't met with him, when in fact you did. So if they're going to go down this witness route and they're going to bring in more witnesses, then the whistleblower should testify, and so should Hunter Biden.
And Congressman, with some of these hearings going until possibly 1 o'clock in the morning, are you concerned about the appearance that this might be done while a lot of people are sleeping and it's not as transparent of a process as it could be?
I mean, I don't know if it'll go that late or not. That's what the schedule suggests. Is it really going to take 24 hours for Adam Schiff to present his case? Is it going to take 24 hours for the defense team to present their argument? I mean, I have the utmost confidence in Pat Cipollone and the defense team. I think they're going to do a great job, but I don't think it's going to take them 24 hours to do that. So will it really go to 1 in the morning? I don't know, but it could go. If it does, fine. We're talking about something pretty darn important here, and if senators, if it's so darn important, they have to work past midnight. Well, there's probably lots of people at Honda have had to work past midnight. I don't think that's a big deal in and of itself.
Congressman, I have to ask you, we've done a number of stories on the Dr. Strauss situation at Ohio State, and I've talked to athletes who said they were there when you were there, that you were aware that he was showering daily, that you were aware of sexual abuse. And one of the referees said he personally told you that.
Yeah.
Has any of that refreshed your memory about what was going on with Dr. Strauss while you were there?
Look, every single coach has said the same thing I've said. All kinds of athletes have said the same thing I've said, and the reason they've said that is because it's the truth. The idea that I wouldn't stand up for our athletes if I thought there was some kind of harm happening to them is ridiculous. I've stood up to the FBI, I've stood up to the IRS, I've stood up to Adam Schiff, I've stood up to John Boehner, the Speaker of the House from our own state and our own party. So if I thought there was something wrong, or if I knew there was something wrong happening, I would have stood up for them. But like I said, every single coach has said the same thing I have, because the reason they've said that is just because that's the truth.
Well, the fencing coach didn't say that. In fact, she wouldn't let her athletes go to him anymore, Coach Reminick. She said that all the coaches were aware, and I've talked to other coaches who were there at the time, and athletes like Dan Ritchie says Dr. Strauss had a locker 2 down from yours. How were you not aware that he was in there taking a shower every day and pleasuring himself in front of these students when they all knew knew about it.
Well, I mean, look, if someone would have reported some kind of abuse to me, if I'd have known about it, I would have reported it. I would have taken on anyone. I would have defended our athletes. And just like I defend the taxpayers when the IRS targeted taxpayers, just like I've stood up to all kinds of folks in Washington, I would have done it. But no one reported anything, and then we never heard of any type of abuse.
And you didn't see anything?
That's why I did not. And that's why every single coach and all kinds of athletes have said the same thing I have.
So where do you think the disconnect is there? Why do you think many of these people that were at Ohio State around the same time you were, why are they saying something different than what you're saying?
You'd have to ask them, and if there was something that happened to them, we certainly want to address that now. And I know Ohio State is working with the folks who have come forward. All I know is there's been two individuals who have said that somehow that I knew. The two individuals have said that one has spent years in prison for fraud, and the other one was this referee who I think is completely lying about what he said. It never happened. Both myself and the other coach have said the same thing.
Can you give us a prediction on the impeachment 1 week from now, 2 weeks from now? Where will the country be when it comes to the division on Capitol Hill?
Well, the Democrats started impeachment before the president was even elected. It started on July 31st, 2016. We found this out last month. I've been talking about it for 2 years, but it was confirmed last month when Michael Horowitz issued his report, the Inspector General's report, on July 31st, 2016, when they opened the Trump-Russia investigation and spied on 4 American citizens associated with the Trump campaign. That's when it really started, and they're never going to stop. The Democrats are never going to stop. They've said that. Congressman Al Green said, if the Senate doesn't convict, it will not end. So they're going to keep going after this president, because when you go to Washington and you drain the swamp, start to drain the swamp fights back. And that's what we're seeing. So, look, I hope we get past it and we can get focused on the things that we need to do for the American people. But in spite of all the Democrats' opposition to the president, it's been an amazing 3 years. I mean, the economy is roaring along. Lowest unemployment in 50 years, 29,000 on the stock market, taxes cut, regulations reduced, good new justices on the court. We're out of that Iran deal. The embassies in Jerusalem, hostages home from North Korea. Al-Baghdadi's been killed. Soleimani's been killed. 2 of the most evil terrorists in the world. I mean, it's been an amazing 3-year run for it. A new NAFTA agreement, the new USMCA just last week. All that's happened in spite of the Democrats' relentless attack on this president. So they're going to keep doing it, but we're just going to keep doing what we told the American people we're going to do and get things done for the country.
How do you envision your role in all of this?
Well, my job is to defend the truth, and as I said before, during the House phase, I was in every part of the impeachment investigation, the deposition phase, the Intelligence Committee hearing phase, the Judiciary phase. My job is to get to the facts and get to the truth. And like I said before, the facts and the truth are all on the president's side. That's why he's going to win. You bet. Thank you guys. Take care.